Paranatural Podcast.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Paranatural Podcast. I'm Christian Key, and I'll be your host, your guide, so to speak, into this strange side of this wild, weird world that we live in. Now, this isn't one of our quote-unquote regular podcasts. Our podcasts are a lot of things. Interesting, intriguing, mysterious, funny. Sometimes it's a little spooky. And sometimes some of the stuff we talk about is flat out scary. But if there's one thing that our shows aren't, it's normal. That being said, this is just a little taste of what the Paranatural Podcast is going to be like. Now, a lot of people have asked me what kind of show it is and what it's about. And I can never quite answer that quickly on the spot. So we're going to take just a second here and just kind of explain, what we do and the kinds of things that we talk about on the show. Thank you so much for joining us on this maiden voyage into the strange sea of the supernatural. We got a lot of topics to discuss, we got a lot of ideas to tell you about, and a lot of stories to share with you. And speaking of stories, if you've ever had a close encounter with the supernatural, we'd love to hear about it. Contact us at theparanaturalpodcast@gmail.com or on Facebook. And maybe we'll even share your experience here on the show. And that's one of the big things that drives this show and makes us different than the rest. We are listener driven. We give you the opportunity to share your supernatural or paranormal experiences with all of us and our listeners. And then we try to discuss it in a non-judgmental, rational way and try to make some sense of it. And if it doesn't necessarily, this doesn't necessarily have to have happened to you. I've found about 50% of people I know have a personal ghost story or brush with the unknown that happened directly to them. But I'd say closer to 90% of people have a supernatural story that happened to someone close to them. I mean, we all love ghost stories when we're kids, right? We tell them around the campfire and when the lights go out or when it's dark and stormy night outside. And one of the scariest aspects of that to me is that as a child, we believe them. We absolutely believe them. We have this sense of wonder, if you will, where we haven't quite figured it all out yet. So we just take it for granted that these stories not only can happen, but that they did happen. But I think the end of that is right around when that adolescent stage happens, right around puberty, because it's a proven fact, and we've all been teenagers and we can attest to this. Teenagers think they know everything. That's just the truth, right? And we generally progress in stages of being a child and being completely unsure of the world around us to becoming a loudmouth know-it-all filled with hormones and angst, and maybe we are a little bored or depressed because we do think we know how everything works and we're bored with it. And then something else kind of happens where we really slowly, really gradually slip into adulthood, right? And by the time you look in the bathroom mirror and you notice a couple wrinkles or the first gray hairs show up in your beard or chops, in my case, it's already way too late. You, at that point, are an adult. You know those old people that you used to not listen to? That's you now. But then something kind of magical happens, right? You realize at some point, especially after you've lost your parent, one of your parents, right, that you will not make it out of this thing alive like you initially thought that you were going to do. But, you deal with that, and you deal with it for a while, and then you get, you become okay with that, which is a lot easier to do when you like who you are and the life that you live. All right, and when you finally really kind of accept that, then you immediately begin to wonder, well, what's going to happen? What's going to happen when I don't make it out alive? What's going to happen? And what's out there in those waters? Plus at this point in life, you're undoubtedly, you've came to the realization that you know relatively nothing about anything, right? Because honestly, the longer I look, the weirder things seem. I mean, we believe everything as kids, right? As adults, we do this thing where we suspend our disbelief about certain things because we want to allow room for these cool, weird things and stories to be true. Well, over here at the Paranatural Podcast, we never did get over the love of ghost stories, and we don't think you should have to. We think it's good to question things with an open mind and maybe a skeptical eye. And if you feel the same, then welcome to the Paranatural Podcast. This is a judgment-free zone. We've all seen and heard things that we simply cannot understand or explain. But not all of us admit it. For whatever reason, either embarrassment of appearing ignorant, or we're worried what people will say or worse think of us, or maybe because our stable little boring Tuesday morning world doesn't allow for it. To admit that there are great, powerful, mysterious, unseen, unknown forces exerting themselves constantly on the very fabric of the space and the time that we all currently reside in would just be too much. It'd be too much for some people. So, what do we do with any huge thing that seems scary or strange or puts us out of our comfort zone? Yep, we ignore it. Yep, we do. Yes, we do. We do. We do it so much that we have a really popular phrase to sum it up. The elephant in the room, right? And speaking of the elephant in the room, I'd like to address something before we go any further. Now, I'm sure that some people are going to think that I'm some kind of tinfoil beanie sporting, new age spewing, conspiracy theory believing lunatic, right? And people, they might even make fun of you for listening to such a crazy, off the wall kind of show. But this is something that I want you to take to heart, and I want you to remember this the next time somebody gives you crap for believing or talking or even being interested in the paranormal. Let me say something that's going to resonate really deeply with you hardline skeptics and with that adult part of your brain that tells you not to believe it when you hear a supernatural story. Okay, first off, the very term supernatural implies that it's not a natural phenomenon. Same thing with paranormal. It means not normal. This is something unusual, an aberration, an oddity. All right, to start off with, all right, science has proven, and it's an agreed upon stone cold fact, and you can look it up and research it for yourself over at science.nasa.gov or any legitimate source that any source, that matter only makes up about 5% of the universe we live in. Now stop and think about that for a second. Really stop and think about it, okay? If we were to read 5% of a dictionary, would you say that because we read that 5% of that dictionary that we have a complete and total grasp of the English language? If you only read 5% of any book, you will have no idea what that book really is like. Well, maybe about 5% of an idea, right? Matter, every single thing in the entire universe that you can hear, see, taste, smell, touch, feel, all that stuff, it only makes up about 5% of our entire universe. Stop and think about that. Dark energy makes up about 68%. Dark matter makes up about 27%. And matter, every single thing that we know, takes up 5%. So, as far as I'm concerned, 5% is simply not enough to make a rational, informed decision on what is and what is not possible. So the next time somebody tries to ridicule you or make fun of you for investigating the paranormal, you tell them to stick that in their pipe and take a few good pulls, right? We appreciate you guys listening in. So now for upcoming shows, right? I'm really excited. The first episode, the first Paranatural podcast, we're going to be doing it about ghosts. And that's going to be our very first one, and we're really excited about that. I've been doing a lot of research, and I've been asking you guys to send me your ghost stories on Facebook. So many people have responded. So many people want to do phone interviews. It's going to be amazing. Then, after that, just to let you know, a couple of the topics that we're going to be covering, this will give you a good feel for the type of things that we're into over here. We got UFOs and aliens, psychic abilities, local legends. Now this one, local legends, is going to be fun. I've studied the legends of this area for quite some time, and I'm really familiar with a lot of the local legends, and I've actually did some research. I'll admit it. It's kind of one of those things. I'll admit it, though. I was writing a book on local legends, and so I had done my research and been talking to people and compiling it all together and getting the information. Not that I pretend that I'm a real author, because we all know I'm a musician. At any rate, I've got a lot of great local legends coming up. So after that, we're going to be talking about the simulation / the Matrix theory, which I'm assuming it was Philip K. Dick that came up with it in the 70s, I believe. And these amazing coincidences that go down, and we wonder if we aren't in a matrix and just somebody's teasing us, right? We're going to be talking about reincarnation coming up, especially kids that remember previous lives. That one's going to be fun. That weirds me out. We're going to be talking about parallel dimensions. We're going to be talking about angels and demons, Ouija boards. We're going to be having an episode about that. I have no problem voicing my opinion right now. Nope. So much nope. Nope. Big P. Nope. Then we're going to have an episode on time travel. One that's going to be fun is we're going to be doing conspiracy theories, which I'm thinking we're not going to do like any crazy conspiracy theory you can think of. This has to be a real conspiracy theory on the internet, right? It's got to be out, quote unquote, out there. You can't initiate it yourself, but conspiracy theories. And then our last topic, which is always the first one in my mind, but the thing that we're going to be talking about for sure, and this one could get sticky, guys, but God. We're going to be talking about God, and I'm assuming that we will get into the discussion of the existence of God. Of course, I'm going to go on the record right now. I think everybody knows me and knows my opinion on that. And I've actually seen God work in my life, so I have no choice. I can turn my back on it, but that's not really being honest by saying I don't believe, because I do. Obviously, I have to. It's been proven to me sufficiently. I think it's a personal decision, but I think sufficiently I've got enough information. At any rate, those are some of the upcoming topics on the Paranatural Podcast. So you guys stay tuned. Make sure that you're checking us out. Make sure to keep sending us ghost stories, right? Make sure to let us know about any kind of encounter that you have with the supernatural world. And until then, sleep tight, guys.